Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. I promise you guys lots of content during this international break, and I'm delivering. I have another super exciting guest on. It's kind of a funny story. We actually met on like a Chelsea game show
Yeah.
that never got aired. We don't know what happened with that. And then we met at Chelsea TV a few weeks ago, and I was like, "You look so familiar. I don't know where I know you from." And we kind of put it together that we have met on this random game show that nothing ever happened with. So, Sam, thank you so much for coming on my channel. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. And it's actually quite funny because I remember when you said it, I was like, I remember your face from somewhere, but I remember that quiz specifically. It was actually quite difficult. Like the questions, they were quite hard. So I was lucky to win it, but it didn't go anywhere. So it doesn't even seem like
It
I won
doesn't even
anything.
matter.
But it don't
I
matter.
was
But
glad that didn't see the light of day, to be honest. I was very relieved about that. But it's so awesome to see you again. You have been absolutely killing it with Chelsea TV, Football Daily. I definitely want to get into all of that towards the end of the stream. But right now, I just want to talk Chelsea with you. So,
lovely.
how have you been feeling about this season?
I've felt really good. Like I think this is when Tuchel came in. I'm gonna go all the way back to that. When Tuchel came in, I was kind of skeptical because obviously the jobs that he's had previously at Dortmund and PSG. Well, the last one he had was PSG. So obviously with that role, everyone just thinks that you're automatically supposed to succeed because of how much money they spend and the players that they have. So when he came to Chelsea, I was quite intrigued to see what he could do with the squad and obviously where we had come from. But I remember the first press conference that he had, I was like, this man is onto something. Like the way he was talking about what he wants to do with the squad, and then even like the first game when he used the experienced players, but he said that everyone's starting with a clean slate, and he brought in players like Rudiger and Jorginho that was kind of out of favor in Lampard under Lampard. So after winning the Champions League, going into this season, I felt really secure because the team that we had was really good, but also the fact that it was a mix of experience, it was a mix of youngsters, and that balance there with the fact that we have a manager that's willing to give everyone an opportunity, not just because of the experience or because of the age. Like he's just starting everyone with a clean slate. It's like, okay, cool, this season can be really good, and it's literally been that because of how consistent we've been, in terms of how we defend, and even when we've had to grind out results, we've been able to do that as a team, and also use how many players that people counted out. We Barkley and Loftus Cheek, so many people were thinking that they were going to be leaving in the summer or they were going to be like fifth or fourth choice, but we've seen under Tuchel that everyone in this squad is useful and everyone has the ability to contribute to what we're trying to do. So yeah, man, I'm really happy. Like I'm really happy with the place that we're at.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because one of the things that I've kind of been thinking about, and we did get a question about this on Twitter, was the amount of goal scorers that Chelsea have had. I mean, it's just absolutely mad that people from all over the pitch are contributing to the goals. So, do you see that as a positive, or do you see that as more of a worry that is this sustainable? Are we
Mm.
able to keep this up, or should we be relying more on the attackers?
I think it's a positive, because really and truly, when we signed Lukaku, everyone almost knew last season that one of the biggest problems we had was scoring goals and seeing out games. We had quite a few 1-0s and 2-1s and stuff. So signing Lukaku, everyone was like, okay, cool, he's going to be the main goal contributor. And then he had like a small drought where he wasn't scoring before he got injured. But in those games, you're seeing Reece James scoring, you're seeing Chilwell score, you're seeing Thiago Silva chip in with a few goals. Do you know what I mean? And it's like that just means that the harmony in the team is so united. You can almost tell that everyone understands their role, and also that it's a team effort. It's not just that we're going to rely on one player to score the goals, because I spoke previously when Lukaku was getting a lot of heat for not scoring that many goals, and I was saying that he needs everyone else to kind of chip in, because you don't want anyone in the team to feel like they're being over relied on, and you're nothing without that person. So the fact that he's been injured in this period where we've scored, I think, over 17 goals in this period, that it's like that's really good. So when he comes back in, he's gonna now add to that. And if we do have a period where the other players like Chilwell, if he keeps on scoring like this, then that would be amazing. But I'm not expecting him to score every single game. The same with Reece James. He's had a goal contribution every, I think, 50 or 60 minutes. So that's amazing, but I'm not expecting that to last over the duration of the season. It would be amazing, but I know there's going to be a period where we're going to have to rely on the Lukakus and the Werners and our forward players. But the fact that we're in a position where majority of our team has scored is an amazing place to be in.
Definitely. And kind of you spoke about this, but touching on Lukaku a bit, I feel like he came into the team, he kind of hit the ground running. And then, like you said, he kind of reached this point, this mini drought, so to speak, where he wasn't scoring goals. And it's interesting because we've kind of seen a formation shift from a 3-4-2-1 to maybe a 3-5-2. And I just was wondering, like, how does this team get the best out of Lukaku? Because we haven't really seen maybe a consistent set of attackers. I feel like Tuchel's kind of always changing it. We don't really know who best to play with him. You have Kai Havertz, who cost 80 million, Timo Werner as well. Like, you have these players that you want to play them. You bought them to play them. You also have Callum, who's been doing really well recently, Christian Pulisic as well.
He's come back, yeah.
How does Tuchel manage that? How does he go from here and get the best out of Lukaku and make sure everybody's so happy?
I don't know. It's a tough one, but the thing is, why I'm so confident is because I trust in Tuchel. I trust in the fact that if Lukaku is having a period where he's not scoring, we saw him come out and say that he thinks he's fatigued, and even though Lukaku probably won't admit it, he was playing like week in, week out for Chelsea and then for Belgium. So I'm not saying that the injury came at the right time because he needed rest, but at the same time, you could almost see that. I also do believe that because we played so different last season, we didn't really have a focal point like Lukaku. You know, someone that can kind of drop in deep to get the ball, but also running behind. I've seen a few times where he's made like particular runs and he's not got the ball as fast as he'd want it. But I know that that comes with time. Do you know what I mean? And it was interesting that the period that we had against like the lower league teams, he wasn't available, because I know that that's where normally like he asserts his dominance and he'll get a few goals. But I also think that him now seeing the fact that we're scoring more freely, Reece James and Chilwell are getting in and amongst the assists. We've seen how well Callum Hudson-Odoi has done on the wing as well, and Pulisic coming back. I think he's gonna see the way the team are playing and say, okay, cool guys, when I come back in, just keep it the same and just feed Havertz the way you've been feeding, feed me the way you've been feeding Havertz, and then we will all be good. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think he'll be all right. Every striker always has like a drought where they're not scoring, but if they're not impacting the game or influencing the game, that's when it's a problem. But I don't think Lukaku has that problem.
Yeah, I think the thing with Lukaku as well, it was just kind of like at one point I felt like he was being so overly marked, and he always had 3 or 4 defenders on him at any given point. So of course it's so incredibly difficult to get him into the game when he's being so heavily man marked. And I think that maybe it's also about finding the right players to kind of create spaces and attract players to them, like a Timo Werner, like a Christian Pulisic. I think that those are the 2 players that really stand out to me, as they will make those runs and attract players to hopefully open up this space for Lukaku. But it's something that I've been thinking about. Wow, we have so many players, and who really starts? And somebody that's been super impressive during this kind of run of games is Callum Hudson-Odoi. So does he start for you when the likes of Timo Werner and Lukaku are fit?
Yeah, I think he does. I think it would make sense for him to start, but also I like the fact that Tuchel's been quite like straightforward and harsh with him, in a sense of saying that even when you play well, it doesn't mean that you're going to be playing the next 4 games. And we've seen that in the team. Like it's a theme that you see. It's really dependent on the type of team that you're playing against. If you're playing against a high line Timo Werner starting makes a lot of sense because he's going to run in behind, he's going to stretch the team. If you're struggling to break down a team, then the Pulisic and the Chos make sense because they can take on players, they can get to the byline and they can deliver. But it's really dependent on the team, and I don't think that I wouldn't be shocked if the next game, I can't remember who we have
Leicester.
after the break. Who was that?
Leicester.
So that's going to be a quite a tough game. Do you know what I mean? Because they're quite a good side. So I'm not going to be shocked if he doesn't play. But like if he does play, I'm going to say, okay, cool. Like I know what he's been doing the last few weeks. I know Tuchel believes in his ability. It's not like he's only been playing because certain players have been injured. He could still be playing right wing back, but what he's been showing at left wing and at right wing as well is showing that he can get in and amongst the goals and get in and amongst the assists as well. And that was the one thing that he was missing. So now that he does that, I think if he starts, then fair play to him.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of an interesting point as well. Thomas Tuchel kind of came out and said, well, this week I'm giving them to rest, recharge. There's a lot of games, and especially we know that Christmas period. Now the games just don't stop. There's games every 3 to 4 days. We're going to see a lot of rotation. We must see rotation in these matches because otherwise the players are not going to be fit and they're going to get injured. But I thought it was interesting that Callum decided to not attend England under-21 international duty in order to train with Thomas Tuchel. I personally didn't see so much of a problem with it. I saw some reports that Gareth Southgate wasn't happy. He was saying, oh, like, you're not going to be able to do this when you play for the senior team, blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this matter because me as an outsider, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. He gets more training time under Thomas Tuchel and he won't disrupt that. But is it such a big deal that he doesn't go to England international duty?
I don't think so, but I'm not really like, I might be the wrong person to be asking because I don't necessarily think it's mad for a player like Callum who did have a long period out with injury and has just got back into the fold of being in the first team for his club and really wants to prove that he can be a consistent player for his club, especially with all the speculation that was going on around him moving, not being happy and things like that. Now that he's got this time in the team, he wants to really like stake a claim to be playing week in, week out. And I think with the under-21s especially, I wouldn't say he's outgrown it because there's a lot of quality in the England under-21 squad. But I also think that he wants to make that next step up into the senior squad and he believes that he should be there. He's played a few games there as well. So I think he believes he should be there. And it's only 2 games. I think it's only 2 games this international break. So he's not missing that much. Do you know what I mean? It's not like crazy. I understand Southgate has to say that because he's the England head coach and he would want all the players that are selected to see it as pride and to always be oncoming. But for Callum, I think it's just he just wants to maintain and secure his position and continue to improve. And I think he's seeing the time that he spent with Tuchel on the training pitch has really benefited him and he's been able to recover from that long-term injury that he had. So yeah, I don't think it's that mad. I don't think it's that mad at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rough circle because if you're not playing in the team, then you're not going to get selected for international duty.
Yeah.
So you have to play well in the team in order to get selected in the first place.
Literally.
But I thought that was interesting. Another player who I'm very hesitant about going on international duty is Christian Pulisic. I'm American, so of course I want the US to succeed. They have a massive World Cup qualifier game against Mexico this weekend, and Christian Pulisic has flown back for that match. Do you have any thoughts on this? Because like, I kind of like, I don't want him to get injured again. Like he has a tendency to want to play, and I love that about him. But I don't want him to play. He's just going to come back injured and be out for another 2 months, even though it's a massive game for the US. And I completely understand it because we missed out on the last World Cup. And I really want to see the US in the World Cup this year. So
that's the thing. He's captain, right? He's captain
yeah, he's
of
the
the
captain.
team. Is he?
Yeah.
So I think that he almost feels that burden of like missing out on the last World Cup and wanting to get into the next World Cup. And I don't think that he would go if his body wasn't in a good place. Do you know what I mean? It's all about management. And, you know, we've spoke about how good Pulisic is, but also the way he plays and how it affects his injuries and how they're constantly reoccurring. I always worry about him because he's so young, and you've seen those players that have those injuries throughout their young days, and you're thinking, is this going to be continuing? Is this going to be something that they're not going to be able to get over? With Pulisic, I don't really know yet, but I don't think that he is around people that wouldn't tell him that you're doing too much. Do you know what I mean? If he's not in a good place, then I don't think he would go. So I'm trusting that he has, those people around him that tell him, you know what, your body's in a good place. You could probably play that game against Mexico and then maybe come off early, or just the fact that you're in and around the team, you build the morale and everyone's energy is boosted because of that. And he probably knows that as well. So yeah, I would lie if I say I'm not worried, but I'm hoping everything is fine.
Me too. And when I tell you, like, Christian Pulisic is the star of, like,
Mm,
not just the US men's national team, but just like men's football in the US. Like, he is the one. Like, even all of the TV programs are kind of centered around Christian Pulisic.
around
Whenever
him.
he's playing,
Really?
it'll be like his picture for Chelsea and everything. So he's
Wow.
massively important. Everything that he's already achieved, Champions League winner, and
Mm.
played as well. So yeah, it's massive for him. I really hope that we get the win. I have to find a way to watch this game as well. I usually don't watch international football, but I've been like digging up this game, so I
Yeah, you
watch
got
it.
me feeling like I need to watch it as well, actually, because the Mexico
It's
and
a
US are
massive
normally a good
rivalry
game.
as well.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
normally good games. They're normally good games. So I might have to watch that as well.
yeah. So, kind of wrapping up our Chelsea talk a bit, I do want to make this like digestible, guys. I hope that you've been liking these 20, 25-ish minute videos. But where do you see Chelsea finishing in the table this season?
Um, I would be wrong to say that we're not going to finish top of the league. And some people might say it's overconfidence or you're just getting a bit ahead of yourself, which I can understand because the Premier League is the hardest league in the world and anything can happen. You can have a bad run of games and then everything changes. But for me, it's just the fact that we're a few games in now and we've conceded 4 goals. I think there's been 1 or 2 open play goals. Yeah. That just shows how good our defense is. When we were having periods of where we weren't able to score that many goals, we were still getting wins. So it shows me that we're not like the finished article.
Yeah.
If we and when we become that finished article, it can be a wrap. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to sound too confident, but it can honestly be
That's it.
like because even with the game that we had against Liverpool, like that game for me was so pivotal in a sense where we were down to 10 men and we're playing against one of the best teams in Europe. They've probably got the best attacker in the world right now. And when we played against them 45 minutes with 10 men and we silenced them, they ran out of ideas so quickly. And if I'm sure um if we had another man on that pitch, we would have won it. Like we would have won it, in my
I
opinion. So I
think
think
so.
going into all of the big games this season, I think we can win if we win those big games against the Man City again. We play Liverpool, even like the West Hams. Like, do you know what I mean? There's quite a few teams in and around the top 6 that are going to cause a few problems in the league. But like we saw the other week when we won that game, and Liverpool drew and City lost to Palace, like anything can happen. But I also
Mhm.
believe that we aren't going to be. I don't see us having a period of madness, and I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen. But I genuinely feel like if we can maintain this consistency in terms of the way we defend and get better in terms of our attacking, and Lukaku comes in and Werner starts getting in the goals, we're winning the league. We're winning the league.
I love being confident. I'm always like so weary. Like, I never want to say it because I'm like, but
Same,
then
same.
it doesn't happen. I really feel like I feel like we really haven't gotten out of second gear, to be completely honest. Like, I feel that the performances have been okay. Some of the scorelines have been rather flattering, and a lot of the goals have been like incredible goals. Like Reece James is just like, what the heck? That's just absolutely
Mm.
brilliant. But I think that the moment that the team figures out, especially once Lukaku is fit, how to use him, I think he could score 20 plus goals in a season. And I think that we'll just be unstoppable at that point. But we're still trying to like figure out how to get the best out of Lukaku and the best out of Kai Havertz and Timo Werner as well. Like, it's all kind of still figuring it out. But I do think that if there's anybody who's going to figure out, it's Thomas Tuchel. Like you said, I just
Exactly.
trust in this man so much. Like, I really, really believe in him. And it's such
Yeah.
an awesome feeling as a Chelsea
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah, he's so honest. That's what I really like enjoy about him in terms of even when we drew the game against Burnley, obviously watching that game, you could understand we should have won that game. There's no way you can watch that and say we shouldn't have won it. It's just the game kind of not got away from us, but once you give a team that hope in the last 20 minutes when you haven't scored another goal and they're thinking, okay, cool, if we get a draw, then we've won. Like that's a very good result for Burnley. But when he came out and spoke after in terms of it being probably a good performance, but we just was slacking in terms of being in front of goal, like you can understand it. Sometimes I listen to other managers talk after in press conferences and I don't know what they're saying or how they interpreted the game the way they did. But with Tuchel, he's very honest. He sees it the way a footballing man sees it, and he doesn't shy away from anything. He's very honest with how he talks about players and how he talks about players getting into the team and things like that. And that's what you'd want from a manager. You want your manager to be transparent in those conversations. And obviously, we know that he's had it quite good since he's been at Chelsea. So we've not seen like a bad side, but I'm hoping with the way the team is now, and like you said, the fact that we're basically in second gear and we're top of the league now, so we get into third, fourth, or fifth, like we should be good. Do you know what I mean? But that's not taking away the fact that City have in the past had runs where they've just won 20 games in a row. Liverpool have had periods of just being unbeaten, so it's going to be very tight. But I genuinely believe that we can win it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to kind of close out this stream, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you've been doing professionally. I mean, you've been absolutely killing it. You just
Thank you.
met Ruben Loftus-Cheek, one of my favorite players ever. So, how did you kind of get into working in football?
It's a very interesting story, and I wouldn't want to take the whole stream to talk about it. But basically, I studied law in university, graduated, realized that I never really wanted to go into that side of things. But obviously, I had a passion for presenting, loved Chelsea, been supporting Chelsea for as long as I can remember. And I just wanted to find a way to get into that field. You know what I mean? Talking to players, bringing out a different side of players. Like that was my main aim coming into like the sport world, like bringing out side of footballers that you don't necessarily see and talking about football, because it's like the old school way of talking about football was, you know, the way we've seen it on TV and stuff. But I feel like there's a new generation of football pundits. Do you know what I mean? So I wanted to be a part of that change and see how I can like impact that in a sense. So yeah, I did a scheme at Sky, and then I met up with the people at Football Daily, the YouTube channel, and just told them that I would love to be a part of it. Don't have that much experience. Like I said, I studied law, so I didn't have experience with cameras, mics, scripts, directing, anything. But they took a punt on me, and yeah, we're here today. Yeah, we're here today. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity that they gave me, because it basically just birthed like a new life for me. But yeah, I really enjoy it.
Oh, freaking cool. Oh my God. What has been like your favorite experience that you've had so far, either on a
Oh,
show or interviewing a player?
so I think the best moment for me is producing the South London documentary that I did. It came out at the beginning of this year on Football Daily's page. If you guys want to check it out, it's there. It's called The Rise of a South London Baller. And yeah, obviously I'm from South London, and I've seen a lot of the players from there grow up and make their name in the Premier League. And I wanted to kind of tell their story, but also how we can kind of help the next generation, you know, reach their dreams and what can be done in terms of finance and the areas that they're growing in and stuff like that. And yeah, the reaction to that was so good. Like I've never produced a documentary. That was the first documentary I've ever done. So the feedback from that was amazing. I was able to get Callum on it as well. and he spoke about himself growing up in London and how it impacted him and how he got to Chelsea and stuff. So yeah, that was probably the best moment I've had so far.
That's mad. That's
Mm.
absolutely mad. Congrats. That's
Thank
so,
you.
so cool. Honestly, I'm so happy for you, and I can't wait to see what you get up to in the future.
Thank you.
So,
You too as well. You're killing it as well. Don't be modest. You're killing it as well. And I'm sure your people on your channel know the hard work that you put in. So just keep grinding because you're really opening doors.
I just feel like I'm here with my little YouTube channel, and okay, one day, hopefully, if you, so kind of going off of that, if you have any tips for somebody trying to get into the industry, like myself, for example, what would you say to them?
All right, so the best advice I can give someone is to do what you're doing. To be honest, like creating content that you enjoy, creating content that you want to be out there. So when people do reach out to you, you know that they're reaching out to you because of something that you love, something that you love doing. Like just staying true to yourself and yeah, like the way I came into the industry was very unorthodox. But if I was to do it again, I would do exactly what you're doing and like creating content and networking with fans that create similar content and people that you actually enjoy their content. Like that's just it's content. I've said content like 15 times, but it really is just doing that as much as you can.
Well, that's awesome to know. Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming on my channel. I honestly really appreciated it.
Thanks for having
I
me.
appreciate it. I love having you on, getting your insight. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Underscore Sam Obaseki on Twitter and Instagram
Perfect. So I'll make
and
sure
YouTube
to add
and
that
YouTube
to
and
the.
YouTube as well. But I've been quite quiet on YouTube recently. But yeah, I'll be back.
Okay, so watch out for that. Make
Yeah.
sure to watch out. I'll add all that into the description box down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Lots more content planned to get us through this last international break until March. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'm out.